Maybe y'all saw the news out of Nebraska today. Apparently our entire state is going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cattle ranch here, and I can confirm that all of the cattle ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants, and they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on to work somewhere else. And straight up, we are going to go bankrupt now. We are going to go bankrupt. And yeah, we voted. We knew that the immigrants would get deported, and he was coming after immigrants. Yet we still voted for it. Overwhelmingly voted for our own demise. I was talking to my husband last night, and I have to admit that it seems a bit foolish now when you think about it like that.
How do farmers deal with stress? How do farmers deal with all the problems that they have in their life? And I think about this because this whole month has been a particularly hard, rough month. I had an illness that went through the cows, that I lost a couple cows. One of my show cows died. I've had sick cows. I've had employees leave. I have brand new employees that don't know anything about farming, but I'm trying to teach them. I'm responsible for herd health on 300 and some head of milk cows, plus not to mention the other 400 head of cattle that we have. And I think about it and I'm like, the farmer rate of suicide is 3.5 times that of the average population. And maybe what are some of the reasons? I can't have a day off. If a family member dies or one of my favorite animals dies, I don't get to take a mental health day because I have to take care of my animals, because nobody will if I don't. And I know people say, oh, well, you chose farming. I do choose farming because I love it. But I also see why people find that the only way out is maybe suicide. Don't worry about me, I'm not thinking about suicide, but I'm just thinking about how hard it is. And today, and this week, and this last month, hell, this last year, it's been really, really hard. And I don't ever want to give up my farm. But I just wanted to let everybody know that I love my job and I love my cows. But somewhere along the way, it would be really nice if people would stop just saying farmers are so great and we need to support our farmers, and actually get rid of some rules and regulations and help the farmer to actually be able to make a living without having to have your significant other work off the farm just to provide extra income and health insurance.
On my feed at the moment, I'm getting a lot of don't you guys care about Nebraska? In 6 months, we're going to be out of money. Fafo. No, we don't care about Nebraska. We care about those tiny little blue purple dots. But your MAGA asses, we don't give a shit about. Because we now know, honestly, I don't think most of us knew this but we now know that Nebraska is somewhere between 45 and 65% undocumented labor. You in Nebraska had to have known that, because you went to the polls intentionally to get those undocumented people out of your state. What with their flavor and spices and ability to sway their hips and, stamp their feet in time to the music, you were fucking offended as hell. Now, there was that, disconnect between, they do all the work and they pay the taxes, but we want them out. I don't know, I guess you guys thought there was going to be some kind of surge of white people just be like, oh, thank the Lord, we've been looking for this job for forever. Please pay me less than minimum wage. I cannot wait. Oh, right, they didn't. And before ICE could even show up to get your undocumented workers out, they up and left, taking their tax payments with them, which was part of the reason why you guys will be out of money in 6 months. All that, I want to lower my taxes shit, congratulations, now they're lower. We are sad that Nebraska might go under, because we understand what you guys raise and grow. We understand what will be missing. We're sad about it, but we knew what was going to go missing when Trump was, your top pick, your only pick. Did you even have another candidate? And when we read Project 2025, we knew what was coming. You must have known what was coming. You just somehow thought there was this, surplus of skilled white laborers just lollygagging, waiting for this moment. You could have called Florida and asked them how it was going there.
I have a question for the rest of America. Does anyone even care about Nebraska? Does anyone even care?
Y'all, I have some mixed feelings about these farmers that are getting screwed over by these tariffs. There's part of me that wants to laugh in their faces and say, congratulations, you got exactly what you voted for, bro. And then there's another side of me that understands that these people are just too simple and don't really understand what they did.
You don't want to hear the price I'm about to give you. I said, well, give it to me anyways. He said, each of those steaks now is going to be $1.74 a piece. I said, well,
Double the
I know
price.
both it. We can't do that. And that's going to be impossible. So that's just to let you know a little bit of what we're going through out here on our farm and what farmers in general are going through. These tariffs, not the best thing for our country. I voted for Trump.
Now, if you didn't catch that at the end, he said, these tariffs aren't the best thing for our country, and I voted for Trump. These people don't really pay attention to the news. These are people that just listen to what Earl says down at the diner, and he's voted Republican his whole life because they're the party of God.
Nah. Next guy, keeping up with Nebraska farmer talk, but they are getting exactly what they voted for. Nebraskan farmers overwhelmingly supported and voted for Donald Trump. The same Donald Trump who ran a campaign with one of the biggest promises being the deportation of illegal immigrants. Mind you, most of the people who work on their farms are illegal immigrants. So now, months after the open book test, they're finally starting to study, and they're realizing that if Trump implements his mass deportation plan, they are going to lose a majority of their workers. And if they lose a majority of their workers and their fields become as empty as a JLo concert, they will go bankrupt.
As farm workers asking Trump to spare their staff and their farm workers from these mass deportations. Nearly 2 million of the farm workers don't have status, and they're afraid that there's going to affect the food supply chain. I mean, I'm afraid about that too. Okay, between all the tariffs and the mass deportations, the price of all the food we eat is going to skyrocket. You thought inflation was bad. This is going to be worse. So anyway, it's good to hear that they're banding together asking Trump to spare, but it's not just them that need to be spared. This is according to a Reuters article just recently.
So as a Nebraskan, the farmers predominantly voted for the current president. They also voted for Pete Ricketts and Deb Fischer, who aren't doing anything for them. And China announced that they're not going to buy corn and soybeans today, or I think they've done it over the last couple days. I think it was last week, because of the trade war their current president that they voted for decided to wage, a trade war with China. They're not going to buy your goods. And I know that a lot of you have said that you want aid. Well, as a taxpayer who lives in Nebraska, who did vote for the right candidate, I don't think I want my tax dollars going to bail you out. I think you actually should sit in your decisions and feel the effects. You want us to. Every time we vote for a Democrat, and you say they're horrible. So at this point in time, I'm going to tell you the same thing you say to me back. You wanted to vote for this. Now you get to deal with the consequences. And I don't think I should have to bail you out, because I work hard for my money too, and my dollars shouldn't bail out your bad decisions. So yeah, today I'm telling you, the farmers here in Nebraska, you need to deal with your own decisions. It's your consequences, not mine, and I don't want to pay for them.
I'm seeing a lot of hate towards these Nebraskan farmers, and I would love to hate on them. But we have to root for them, because if these small farms go out of business, who's going to buy up these small farms? It's going to be the corporations. And we're going to be even more fucked than we are now. They're just going to be able to rule everything, price gouge us on everything. So, as much as I don't want to be supportive, we kind of have to support them. And, do anything we can to help them out, even though they voted for the wrong person.
So this morning I ended up on Nebraska Talk, and it was a bunch of people crying, why does anybody care about Nebraska? When we voted for Kamala Harris, when I cast my vote for Harris, that was me saying, I care about you and I want you to survive and thrive. Okay, you knew better than anybody else that your state thrives and survives off of migrants' backs. Okay? And instead of them waiting for ICE to come, they decided to peace out before they could come and get them. I don't know what to tell you guys anymore. This is what you voted for. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to believe it or not, this is exactly what you voted for. And now you're feeling it. What do you want us to do? You want a government handout? That's socialism. You voted against that. No. Sadly, the reality is that you'll probably have to sell a lot of your farms for pennies on the dollar to large corporations and manufacturers. But don't worry, they'll probably let you work there for minimum wage.
Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's going on with the tariffs and what's going on with the state of Nebraska, which I am from. Okay, I'm noticing a trend right now of a lot of things. When people talk about Nebraska, some people are saying that their stuff is getting removed, it's getting banned, it's whatever. Okay, but I want to talk about something. First thing I want to talk about is, Nebraska is going to go bankrupt in about 6 months. Nebraska, the state that relies on their agriculture to sustain the way of living. Okay, Nebraska. There's a lot of farmland in Nebraska, and Nebraska has been notoriously Republican for quite a long time. There's only subsets of cities that ever really vote Democratic or anything like that, like in Omaha, and so forth. But the Nebraska, the place that relies on their agriculture for any type of profit, is going bankrupt. One of our senators, Pete Ricketts, is kissing boots right now to the Trump administration as we are heading towards bankruptcy in about 6 months. I'm sure you have heard people talk about it, but I want to make it clear that right now, even though my state is on the decline and we have 6 months before we file bankruptcy, I don't want to hear a single one of y'all getting on this app right now trying to monetize off you regretting your vote. I don't want to hear it, because your racism. One, you, somebody who owns farmland, who relies on migrant workers to do all of these jobs, because you don't want to hire an American because, as you stated multiple times, that we're lazy, slow, and we want too much money. The same people who rely on migrant workers turned around and voted against their best interests, and now you have ICE doing sweeps and shit over here on a regular. And you're running around complaining. Now you're going to town halls. You're screaming. You're yelling. You're crying. You're fussing. For what? For something that you did? This is not the F around and find out anymore. Okay? What happens every time when it comes to Republicans is y'all constantly vote against your best interests and then want people who have socialist ideals and mindsets to come in and fix it so you can benefit, and then turn around and complain.
Your racism is freaking expensive. Now look at all these red states running bankrupt. Just a few months back, they were telling us that the Jose's were stealing their jobs, so they needed their jobs back. And the jobs are back, but no one wants to do them. So what do you want us to do? This is sad, but funny at the same time. Because Trump told you, he warned you at the beginning that he's going to deport everything. And you guys knew all your workers, all your employees were undocumented. But still, you voted for the person who said he was going to take them or deport them. And now you're on social media crying. You're on the news crying. Like, come on, man.
Dear Nebraska farmers, I have a question for you. So, you realize that you were employing your farms with undocumented workers, because there's no way that you didn't know that, right? You realize you're also breaking the law by doing so. But you then rail against those same undocumented workers that's doing the work and making you money so that they can be deported. And now you're crying and whining and trying to skin and grin to Donald Trump to stop him from deportations when you supported it overwhelmingly. It's kind of like the Venezuelans, right? When right before the election, they were like, I will vote for Donald Trump. Oh, 2 weeks later, us. How are y'all feeling right now?
So for all the farmers that live in Nebraska, you voted for Trump knowing that 70% of your workforce on your farms are migrants. Now, apparently Nebraska is 6 months away from bankruptcy. Still voted for the mass deportation of 70% of your workforce on your farms, and now are complaining that your farms and your livelihood will not survive there.
Not the Nebraska farmers going bankrupt by voting for Donald Trump. Like, I don't give a shit. You guys voted for it. Fucking take the consequences.
The anger expressed by some farm owners in Nebraska reflects a much larger issue. An unwillingness to accept change, particularly as more Black Americans actively work to establish an independent position within the agricultural sector. Black farmers are creating their own path for their communities. They are forming cooperatives, gradually reclaiming land, and restoring a story that has long been overlooked. For that reason, this is not simply a matter of labor shortages. What is really happening is a shift in power. And perhaps it is this very change that is making some people feel uneasy. However, there is one difficult truth that cannot be denied. Many of the challenges they are facing today stem from choices they made in the past. Many of these farm owners voted in favor of policies that promised large-scale deportations of immigrants. What they failed to recognize, however, was that the immigrant workers they wanted removed had spent years working in the fields, harvesting crops, and keeping agricultural operations running. Now, with many immigrant workers no longer there, and with Black farmers unwilling to continue participating in a system that offers them neither ownership nor a fair share of the benefits, the weaknesses of the current model are becoming increasingly clear. Even so, continuing to look for someone to blame will not solve the situation. This is the time for a more serious examination, not only of who is doing the work in these fields, but also of who owns the land, who receives the greatest share of the benefits, and which communities continue to be pushed to the margins. Although many challenges remain, I still believe that Nebraska in particular, and the American agricultural community as a whole, can find a way through this difficult period. Thank you all for taking the time to watch today's video. If you found the information I shared valuable, please consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you do not miss the latest videos. Your continued support truly means a great deal to me and gives me even more motivation to keep creating useful content in the future. Once again, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.